Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Friday, May 4th, 2018. Happy Friday everyone. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session we had quite a drop here, getting down as low as the 25.91s. Price eventually rallied from those lows, closing higher back above 26.20s. And leaving behind quite a rejection tail here. This is 2 times in the last 3 days where we've done that. And again, if prices can't hold the midpoint of this current day here, this rejection day, which is basically 26.13s, we could be looking at another round of weakness ahead. Very similar to what happened a couple of days back, where we formed a rejection tail and ate right through it. So again, we've done this 1, 2, and now perhaps 3 times going in a row here, where we form a rejection tail but just kind of eat through it. So again, we're not really seeing the type of reaction and movement that you'd like to see if this was going to continue and bounce just yet. We do have NFP report coming out pretty soon, and that should give things a little bit of a shake-up. But again, what we're really looking for here is for price to eventually work out of this zone here, and at some point it's got to either break down or it's got to start popping to the upside. Again, our thought is that if it drops to the lower edge of this range, it could be a fantastic opportunity to look for a trap and a bounce back toward 27.03. So again, continue to watch the midpoint of yesterday's range. Any breakthrough 26.13 starts to open up a push and a continuation lower. Holding that edge suggests that we could trade sideways to up heading into the weekend here. Again, still in this larger range, but once we get expansion from that range, it could be fairly significant. So let's take a look here at the NQ. Very similar type of price action. Again, if you look right here, everything we've been doing has mostly been compressing, and now we're to the point where we're right at the apex, right at 66.53, which is the midpoint of the larger key range, and now we have really nowhere to go. It needs to move out of this range. There's no longer any fair facilitation to trade in here. You can get a little bit more, and then it's got to start moving. So again, very tightly coiled price action. If we break down 61.50 right here is going to be very, very important. We tested already once, and it got us back across the range. And now if we did it again, it could be another opportunity to do the exact same thing. So again, we could be looking at a short-term burst lower, followed by a great fade and bounce back up. But this could be due next week. So we could be looking at some action here over the next couple of weeks after a very tightly compressed phase of movement here this week. If we take a look here at crude oil, you'll notice that crude continues to be bullish and continues to hold the 67s. 67s continue to hold intact. Every time it's tested that zone, it's been defended. Again, I mentioned before, if we broke down below it, primarily look for a trap and a squeeze. If we broke down below and started to work below 65s, then it could be open season for 60 to 62, each of these 2 recent pivots. But again, this thing has been coiling up over the last 10, 12, 13 days, and that means that once we see expansion from this range, it could be about a 2-week move. If you coil up for 10, 15 days, you're going to move about 10 or 15 days. So again, that's about 2 to 3 weeks. So if we start to break out of this range, you start to see the targets that come into view. So again, we could be looking at some nice movement, and whether it starts today or next week, we'll see. But again, we got some great levels to work off of in crude in the days ahead. If we take a look at gold here, you'll notice that gold is doing just enough to look slightly bullish, but you have to be very careful with gold right now. We've been in the range for quite a while. We're at the lower edge of the range. We've had some classic rejections here at these lower edges. This was more of a breakup after it held, and now we're doing the same kind of thing. We're down here, we're holding kind of an inverted hit, hanging man here. You also have a push beyond the previous close, kind of close back below it. So it's quietly making higher highs, higher lows. This one right here is holding the 1310s. 1310 is the most important short-term level right now. If bulls can keep 1310 bid, there's a shot to bounce this thing back to 1338 very quickly. Any failure to hold 1310 suggests that we could see a little bit more development before we see a squeeze or perhaps even a break. Because remember, if we fail to hold 1300, it's a quick move to 1280 and 1240. So again, right now 1310 is where bulls want to be looking to defend for a rotation into the 1330s. Any failure to hold 1310 opens up another test of lows. Alright, lastly here, let's take a look at Bitcoin. If you take a look at Bitcoin over the last few weeks, we've seen quite a rally. We've also seen some compression and expansion. So here's compression, expansion, compression, expansion. We got compression a couple of days ago, and I mentioned that we could be looking at another move or breakout, and we've gotten it to the upside here. You can see this breakout holding above 9,500 today, making it support. All of those are bullish cues here, and what I mentioned over the last few days is that holding 8,500 suggests a continuation into 11.3 and as high as 12K. So again, we're still working our way toward that zone right there, 11 to 12, right in that area. And once we get into as high as 12, it could be a sell season right back to 8K. It could be a big time haircut from 12 to 8. So again, right now short-term phase up, and then we'll see if there's a counter phase back down. All right, everyone, that is it for today. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Trade well, and we'll see you soon. Happy Friday.